Am I the butthole for not using my daughter's college fund for my stepson's rehab? The title basically sums it up, I suppose. My husband and I have been married for 3 years now. I have a daughter, 15 female, and he has a son, 24 male. I am friendly with my stepson, but we aren't close. He has a biological mother who is a perfectly fine woman. I'm not here to take the role of his mom. My late husband, my daughter's father, died when my daughter was 6. We both contributed to her college fund. My daughter's paternal grandparents have also contributed a large amount. Right now, the fund has about $180,000. My daughter is extremely bright, and I'm not just saying that because I'm her mom. I truly believe she has the capacity to go to an Ivy League school, and her teachers have said she has the potential as well, and I don't want cost to hold her back. Our income would be too high to get any meaningful financial aid, and while there are a few merit-based scholarships out there that she will be applying to, we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket and hope she gets it when it's so competitive. My current husband and I have separate finances. He doesn't contribute at all to my daughter's fund. My stepson is struggling with a heroin addiction, and has stolen money, jewelry, heirlooms, and electronics from us for drug money. I understand that addiction is a disease, and I personally paid for an outpatient detox for him, which cost $1,000, which failed. His father then paid for an outpatient rehab program, which cost $6,500, which also didn't work because he barely showed up. He promised us he'd do better next time and he needed another chance, so I split the cost of another $6,500 outpatient rehab program with my husband, which seemed to work during program, but he relapsed as soon as he got out of it. I have spent so much money, time, and energy and it hasn't helped at all. My husband and my stepson want to try a 60-day inpatient rehab program, which will cost $30,000. I had absolutely no idea where they were supposed to get the money for that, considering the thousands and thousands of dollars that were already spent, and the fact that we no longer had anything of value in our house. They want to use my daughter's college fund, which to me is absolutely off limits. I feel like it's completely unfair to my daughter to punish her for my stepson's addiction, unfair to my late husband and his parents, but frankly, I don't think spending $30,000 will work. My husband thinks I'm a butthole because I'm prioritizing my daughter's education over his son's life, and he believes medical needs come first. He then asked my daughter if she'd be willing to use $30,000 from her fund to pay for her stepbrother's rehab, and she got very quiet and did not answer. He then got very upset with her and said she was being selfish. My daughter later told me that she didn't want to give her stepbrother the money, but she felt so guilty, and I am furious at my husband for emotionally guilt-tripping my daughter like that. NTA. They want to use my daughter's college fund, which to me is absolutely off-limits. That's not up to you, them or anyone. That's your daughter's money in all but name. Your husband paid into it. Your daughter's grandparents paid into it. You paid into it. For her. Not for some kid that half these people don't know. He then got very upset with her and said she was being selfish. Why did you allow this? Why are you allowing this to be your daughter's concern? Why is she being put in this position? I get that you're furious, but this is way over the line. This shouldn't be am I the butthole for refusing, this should be so I left this guy because he crossed a line and made my daughter feel accountable for an addict because she wouldn't give $30,000 designated for her future. Addiction is a serious problem and I'm sorry for your stepson and his dad, but not sorry enough to excuse what they're trying to pull here. Your daughter is not a cash cow for them to raid when it suits. This kid has stolen your money and your property, he's trying to steal your daughter's future. You're right, I should have stopped him immediately. The only reason I've tolerated it so far is because obviously I love my husband, but also because I understand the pain he's in as a parent and I can't help but be sympathetic when I imagine my daughter in the position his son is in. I would be terrified and cross boundaries as well. I believe that my stepson was a good man before the drugs, and could be a good man again, but I just can't sacrifice my own daughter's potential education for that possibility. But the idea of him potentially dying from an overdose one day when I could have helped him is just, I can't even express it. But the idea of him potentially dying from an overdose one day when I could have helped him is just, I can't even express it. This is the problem for me. You are not being asked to help. In this case, I know you did previously. Your daughter is, and that's not fair. If this was you and your partner taking out a second mortgage, taking a loan or whatever, my answer would be different. My only issue here is that your daughter is being asked to make a sacrifice for this guy. Edit. Thinking on this, your daughter has now been put in this position too. I imagine before now, she never considered that she could help, being 15. Now she knows that she could give money to help, and if she refuses, she might have some guilt if something bad happens. You need to take this decision away from your daughter. It's unfair to give her any reason to feel responsible for the outcome to your stepson. Yes, immediately let daughter know that the decision is not even hers. Let her know that even if she says yes, you object to the money going to stepson and would prevent it because that money is her future. Please make sure daughter doesn't feel responsible for this. I would highly consider separation from husband and family therapy to mend the bomb your husband threw at the family by trying to steal your daughter's money. Separation from your husband and the whole family needs Al-Anon, yes, for family of alcoholics, but many family members of addicts attend too, or some other therapy. You all are actively patting this stepson from hitting his rock bottom. Highly recommend the book Codependent No More, mostly for the husband, but to be honest, it sounds like he wouldn't read it anyway. You might want to read it and start thinking about how, as a family, you can detach with love and let stepbrother make his own mistakes. Codependent No More is an amazing book, super helpful. Third Ignis. 20 years married to an addict, and I understand that you have to help, otherwise it's your fault if something bad happens. Guilt trip. Do not fall for it. I'm sorry if this sounds naive, I've never faced addiction, directly or indirectly. But what if his rock bottom is an odd? We're not talking about dropping out of college here, this is actual life or death. ETA, that being said, original post is NTA. The daughter's future should not be sacrificed for the stepson. If that is his rock bottom, then no amount of rehab will prevent it. We learn in Al-Anon that we didn't cause the addiction, cannot control it, and can't cure it. We can love the addict but hate the disease. We can't control the disease. Only the addict can decide when they are ready to fight it. Otherwise, it is just a cycle of forced rehab/relapse/ and repeat. Oh boy. That's a hard reality to face. The only thing harder is exhausting yourself physically and emotionally trying to cure an addict. At least that was my experience with an alcoholic father and a husband who has 5 years of sobriety. Watching my husband sick was hard, feeling powerless was hard, but trying to fix him drove me insane. Stepping back and loving him, but caring for myself and our son first, was what brought me back to sanity, and really, once his addiction was his problem alone, saved my husband's life. Something like don't light yourself on fire to keep others warm? I can't even begin to imagine how tough this experience must have been. I'm so sorry this happened to your family. But it's also incredibly impressive how both you and your husband managed to pull through. I hope your father's doing okay, although if you didn't mention him, I fear he isn't. I hope things continue to get better for you. Once his addiction was his problem alone, how did you manage that though? How were you able to let your husband fall without it dragging you and your son down with him? I'm genuinely curious, because I would love to let my husband fall on his own, but it feels impossible because I don't see any way that it could be done without affecting our whole family, me, husband and our 4 kids, in a very bad way. Yes, it is. But Op's stepson has already lapsed 3 times. It's very reasonable to assume he will lapse again. My sister was an alcoholic who relapsed within weeks of every rehab. She even went to 60-day program that medical insurance paid for. She dried out 18 times, and went right back to drinking 18 times. She is dead now. Even in feeding tubes and IVs, she still found ways to drink. At some point, we had to walk away and just make sure she didn't die alone. Op and her daughter are really being asked to gamble $30,000 here when the odds are not good. And assuming this fails, does Original Post really think they'll stop at $30,000? There's this 90-day program. It's supposed to be really good. This is the last time, I promise. They'd ask for every dime and leave the daughter high and dry. Especially when she has no way of getting grants, she is probably eligible for loans, unless Original Post and her husband are making 7 figures, which, given the circumstances, I doubt. So instead of graduating debt-free from an exceptional college, the daughter would be asked to graduate with immense debt from a more affordable college. Op needs to put her foot down hard and make sure the daughter does not feel responsible here. Some family therapy would probably help too, since this could really drive a wedge between original post and her husband. This is gut-wrenching, so sorry participant. At the later stages of it, the brain chemistry is so tweaked that reason is erased in favor only of the craving and the drug. It is brutal, but that you and your family could let her go is grace and love in itself. He then asked my daughter if she'd be willing to use $30,000 from her fund to pay for her stepbrother's rehab, and she got very quiet and did not answer. He then got very upset with her and said she was being selfish. My daughter later told me that she didn't want to give her stepbrother the money, but she felt so guilty, and I am furious at my husband for emotionally guilt-tripping my daughter like that. This is not a question that should ever have been asked of your daughter, and I hope that you didn't give permission for your husband to ask. Your daughter is 15. She is too young to make a decision about a large sum of money. She should never have been put in that position, and your husband is absolutely a butthole for asking, and for telling a child that she is selfish for not sacrificing a lot of money to pay for his son's issues. NTA. Protect your daughter. Your last sentence needs an edit. Protect your daughter. Not just her college fund. We have a 15-year-old girl with a stepdad emotionally manipulating her, a mother not standing up for her, and a stepbrother who is desperate, erratic, and has a history of stealing. She is now aware that her boundary is what potentially stands between stepbrother and not dying, and the apparently perfectly fine bio mom of the addict stepbrother isn't mentioned in a financial context. So all the adults here are against the child involved, and she's already been exposed to the impact of active addiction for years while coping with the death of a parent while a child. All the money, emotional energy, and time is going on the addict stepbrother, not equally shared with both stepkids. Except the 15-year-old. Her mother is failing her and has been failing her for some time. The fact she's only now bothered that the active addict and enabling has gone too far when the college fund instead of her daughter's emotional state is threatened is very telling. This bothered me too, that a 15-year-old is being subjected to a heroin addict's toxic ways, theft, guilt, shaming, etc., while I empathize that the stepson has an illness. Mother and daughter have a choice. My daughter comes first. Before anyone. Including myself. I could never subject her to that situation knowing I didn't have to. She's mine to protect. I feel for the enabling a drug addict husband, but he and his son don't get priority over my daughter. And that was before I read the comment that the 15-year-old and original post and stepdad live in a house owned by the parents of her late father, which is offered at reduced cost of living to original post, and husband and 15-year-old will inherit. That strongly indicates that the valuables and heirlooms stolen by stepson actually belong to ops-in-laws from her first marriage, and by extension her daughter, as family items by blood. Original post has allowed that violation of ownership and feeling of safety for her daughter, and adds disrespect to her in-laws who supported her to raise their grandchild by allowing thieving, boundary stomping, and entitlement from her husband and his son toward them. She is absolutely failing her child by risking her home, her relationship with her grandparents, and enabling the husband and stepson, and putting her marriage over her child. Her lack of self-awareness with each reply is infuriating. This poor kid living like this because mama doesn't want to be single. Edit. I forgot to say some of the valuables will also have belonged to original post and husband or been household assets that the 15-year-old used. They may also have been items given to her by her mom or grandparents. But either way, the items were stolen from the home she lives in by someone who does not, and that is wildly inappropriate even if original post and husband owned the house. Stolen phones, tablets, etc. hold a lot of personal sentimental stuff that can't always be backed up or in the cloud, and this year tech is particularly vital for teens who are out of school due to the pandemic, so even seemingly replaceable things like smartphones can be really upsetting to have stolen from your own home. An upgrade to the replacement cannot fix the trust the theft and enabling of it stole. Looking forward to the inevitable. Am I the butthole for kicking my mom, stepdad, and addict stepbrother out of the house I inherited from my dead dad's parents? There was one yesterday very much like that. That strongly indicates that the valuables and heirlooms stolen by stepson actually belong to ops-in-laws from her first marriage, and by extension her daughter as family items by blood. Didn't even think of that. Junkies are going to be junkies. Don't let this sick addict into your house anymore. This is so true. And the comment about how she's sure he wouldn't prioritize paying her daughter back. This man and his son are milking original post for money and mistreating her daughter horribly. This whole situation is far from okay. Please tell me your stepson is not allowed in this home. Please tell me that he is not living with you. Please tell me you are actively trying to reduce how much your daughter is exposed to this trauma. Please tell me you are not covering for the stepson's behavior on your in-laws' property. I am biased as I am a recovering addict. My brother is a dry drunk in his addiction and our abusive mother is probably an alcoholic. When I was 15, I dated a 24-year-old heroin addict, and while he was not the worst addict I met, where heroin addicts go there are more and they get increasingly desperate as the stakes raise and the money lowers. I used to give my BF my part-time job wages to stave off the withdrawal or overdoses. Then he started using me to pay his drug debts by effing his dealers or fellow addicts. As a 15-year-old with no adult on my side, terrified of him dying or crap escalating into beatings or him getting shot, I thought I was helping in the best way I could. I was in fact being hideously exploited and sexually abused. The stepbrother may never go near that crap, but you have no idea what his other addict pals will do to a 15-year-old rich girl, and she needs to be kept safe. Exploitation is already happening and breaking her normal meter to have boundaries or say no or recognize manipulation done covertly. 15-year-olds think they are wiser than they are, but they are just kids. Holy crap, original post needs to see this comment. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.